All right, y'all, we back with another one. This is a recap episode. We are going to be giving our reactions, thoughts, and opinions on the first round of the NBA playoffs. Uh, we both probably going to have a lot to say, especially with how it played out for our two teams. So we're going to break it up into two segments. And this one, we just going to focus on the East, the first round matchups in the East, and we going to get right into it. Young Bull, we're going to start off talking about the Wizards at the 76ers, how that matchup went out. We know the Sixers won in 5. They are the 1 seed. They looked like it in the series. What you think? How'd you feel about the series? What you think about the Sixers? What you think about the Wizards? How you feel after that?
It went exactly how I expected. Wizards, besides Westbrook and Beal, they're not really a great team all around. They don't have much depth. Their bench players do not get that work in. They need more work from their role players. They should be playing, stepping up, doing better. It sucks seeing Westbrook out in the first round, but Sixers are clearly the better team here. Only
Yeah,
chance they had of losing was Embiid injured. That's it.
I'm pretty sure I called 5, Sixers and 5.
Yeah.
I thought that Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook would be able to, team up to get one off of them just off of their talent alone. But as you said, just not a lot out there for the Wizards. I mean, Davis Bertans was terrible the entire series. And he was one of the better three-point shooters last year. He was very effective. He was a reason that they had some juice last year, and he just was nowhere to be found. Rui Hachimura did okay, but he's still a young player, learning his way, and it's just not much there by way of depth or by way of support. It's basically, can our two all-stars go bananas enough to win us a game? The 76ers are built well. They're coached well. They pride themselves on defense, and that's going to be hard for any team to deal with, especially a team that's devoid of talent. So the Wizards just ran into a better team. They had home court advantage, and they did what a 1 seed should do to an 8 seed. They looked like the better team the whole time, and they advanced. Before we move on, though, because that series is pretty open and shut, pretty much played out every way I'm sure everybody thought it would. But before we move on, though, Bradley Beal at his exit conference, he's throughout his career been very, very strong in the media, with his support for Washington and saying, I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying.
Yeah.
He was blatantly asked in his end of season presser, was he gonna, look for greener pastures? And he didn't say yes. He didn't say yes, but he didn't say no. That there wasn't that bold loyalty that he usually shows. There was some hesitation there. And I'm just a proponent of, especially in today's NBA, I love the loyalty thing, but you got to be loyal to a franchise that is doing the right things. It's like you can find a girl that's loyal, but if she's a trash girl for you, you can't marry her just because she's loyal to you. Like, you feel me? Like, the Wizards are a trash franchise. Like, they're not putting him in a position to win. They're not doing their job. He's doing his job. He's being loyal. He's putting up the numbers. He's staying humble. He's staying quiet. He's not making trouble. And they are not helping him. Like, and I just feel like when you in that situation, people can't hold you if you look to, I got 3 to 4 more years of prime my career. I want to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wouldn't be mad if Bill tried to look for his way out. What you think?
It's the same thing that's been going on with all these players. I mean, Damian Lillard, same situation. We'll talk about that later, though. But honestly, yeah, it's about time that he goes, but it hurts seeing players go. But
yeah,
it depends. If they get rid of Westbrook, they got to get rid of both of them. They can't get rid of. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting offseason for the Wizards. But we're gonna keep it flowing. Hit it up to the next series in there, the 2-7 series, the Celtics versus the Nets. We know how that series went. Nets 1-5. Pretty much how I felt like it would go. I'm gonna jump in first. It's pretty much how I felt like it would go. I respect the Celtics as a team. I respect Jason Tatum. I mean, the kid, for him to have only played in one round, he had a pretty, dominant postseason. Like, he was dominant in the play-in game, and the one game that the Celtics won, they won because Jason Tatum was dominant.
Yep.
He dropped 250 balls in a span of 6 games.
Yep.
Like, I mean,
back-to-back 40 points.
He was balling. Hats off to Jason Tatum. You know what I'm saying? He did everything he could. I think the whole league is respecting him. KD just had an interview I just saw on Twitter. Just giving the kid respect. Like, at 23 years old, like, this kid is doing stuff that's like, yeah, I can't guard it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Respect to Jason Tatum. I feel like the Celtics need to be looking around the league right now, looking at Bradley Beals, looking at Damian Lillard, and saying, we need to make sure we get this right before Jason Tatum looks for greener pastures, especially with his LA connections. And I mean, the whole Laker vibe, like, they need to make sure they build around him properly, and give him a chance to win properly. I know Jaylen Brown would help him, but I feel like they still need a little bit more to get them to that true contention status. I mean, Jason Tatum's only 23. He's probably going to sign an extension with them when it comes up. But if they don't get it right in that extension, Jason Tatum, man, he's one of those players, because that kid only gonna get better. Like, he only gonna get better.
Yeah.
As far as the Nets, they did what I thought they was gonna do. They looked like the team I thought they was gonna look like, and I still feel like they haven't turned it completely on. I'm gonna talk more about the Nets when we get to the prediction round. But as far as how this series went, much like the Sixers, they look like the 2 seed should look against the 7 seed. They did what they had to do, and they won, in short order.
Yeah. I anticipated this to be a sweep, but Jason Tatum, back-to-back 40-point games, first Celtic player to ever do it in the playoffs. And that's Larry Bird, Bill Russell. We already know.
A lot of names, bro.
Yes, sir. So that right there, he had enough juice to get one game, but I didn't see them winning more than that.
Yeah. So first 2 series pretty much went how we thought they would. The next series I want to get into is a series that went different than we both thought it would. We're gonna talk about the Knicks versus the Hawks. We both had the Knicks winning. I had the Knicks in 6. I don't know how many you had them in, but I had the Knicks in 6. I didn't think that the Hawks were gonna win this series. I'm gonna let you jump in and give your opinion on how that series went first, though.
I think I had Knicks in 6 or 7, pretty sure. Julius Randle got clamped all fucking series. He had about one good game. One game over 15 points. The rest were 15 points or less. Nowhere near a triple-double. He wasn't doing anything that his most improved player award says he was doing. Hawks just did a good job locking him up. Derrick Rose did his fucking thing, though.
Yeah, he did.
But unfortunately, without Randall's, Derrick Rose not enough by himself. So Trae Young, that boy. Whoo! At first, after game 1, I thought that the fans were in his head. I thought he was too focused on the fans, and it was gonna cause them to lose. But actually, the New York Knicks fans did more trouble to the Knicks than they did for Trae Young. I think that the Knicks not being in the playoffs for so long, they weren't used to this intensity that the fans brought, and it kind of just I feel like it kind of got them over their heads, It definitely messed them up a little.
Trae Young's, and it was the battery in Trae Young's back. He used it.
Yeah.
He used it as a tool to get himself hyped. But first, let me start off, because I want to get into the Knicks. But first, I got to start off in the right place, is with the Hawks. First person I got to take my hats off to is Nate McMillan. That man, the head coach, he completely transformed the Hawks. He did not start off as the head coach. He took over when the Hawks were a losing team and not even in the play-in scenario at that point. And they went on a massive winning streak to not only get themselves into the playoffs, but all the way up to the 5 seed. He turned the team completely around. He changed their identity defensively. He remodeled them mid-season and made them a playoff team and now a playoff winning team. And he needs to be getting his flowers. That's a really good job by a coach who's bounced around the league and been considered just the average coach. This is a above average job he did with this team. The second person I got to give credit to is Trae Young. He took on the challenge. He took on the heckling. He took on the responsibility of being the best player, and he was the best player not only on the Hawks but in the entire series. He made a statement that nobody out here is better than me. He played like it every night, and he was dominant. And without that type of performance, we might have had a different series, but Trae Young made sure it didn't go that way. He didn't let them take him out of his game. He got to his spots, and his confidence bled into the rest of the Hawks, and they balled out. And now to get to the Knicks, when your best player becomes your fourth best player in a playoff series, and your third best player then has to be your best player, and your third best player is a old Derrick Rose, you're gonna lose that series. Shout out to Derrick Rose. He did everything he could do. The way he played, his team should have won a series, because when a player like Derrick Rose at this stage in his career plays that well, the rest of the team should be able to do enough that you win that series. But Derrick Rose was the best player on the Knicks, and that just wasn't enough to get it done against a red-hot Trae Young. RJ Barrett did okay defensively, but he also didn't really impact the series. You saw more impact from guys like Reggie Bullock and Alec Burks than you saw from, your Julius Randles and your RJ Barretts. And when that happens, it's just, it's a recipe for disaster. I don't put it on Thibs. I put it on lack of experience, and I put it on, like you said, the moment. Like, New York being out of the playoffs for so long, and the city, the entirety of every borough except for Brooklyn was united. It was like so much joy and excitement, and it was an inexperienced team, and it just happened to them. The Hawks have been there before, and it just happened to them. They lost. I think they'll be back next year. I don't think that this means Julius Randle is a bust. I do think that this means the Knicks should understand that Julius Randle can't be your best player if you want to be a championship team. But I think Julius Randle can be. I don't think he can be your best player and lead a championship team. I think he could be your second best player, as long as you have a strong number one and a strong number three. But I think that Julius Randle will regress to the mean, not meaning that he's going to be a bad player, but I don't think he'll be as good as he was this year. I think he'll be good. I think he might even make another All-Star game, but I feel like he's going to regress to the mean and kind of be that second tier level player. I don't think he's a leader of a team that's going to be a championship contender. I just don't think he's there talent-wise.
It's hard to say that, but
a playoff series with him. But I don't think you're winning a championship with him. Julius Randle isn't beating the Nets.
Right now, this year, no, but in like 3 years, who knows? I don't know.
But and we'll see who's on his team. But like I said, it depends on what's around him.
This is his first playoff series in his career, everyone else on the team almost.
Exactly. He's still got a lot to learn. He's got a lot of space to grow. I just, I'm not the proponent that Julius Randle is a number one superstar type of player. I think he's a good player. I think he'll make some more All-Star games type of player. But I don't think he's I can build my franchise around this type of player. I'm not building my franchise around Julius Randle.
He's the type of guy I'd give a 5-year max contract to.
I mean, yeah, in certain scenarios, yeah, especially now, like max contracts are kind of
they just give it away.
Yeah, like the Knicks gonna have to give him one because you're gonna need to keep him. He's gonna
definitely got to give him one.
So I'm not knocking.
Derrick Rose might even get one.
The way it goes, right?
Yeah.
But we're gonna move on to the final East series. The Heat and the Bucks.
I'm sparkling up for your team because
the Heat and the Bucks. You know what I'm saying? Cheers to Saturday morning mimosa wave. I'm gonna let you start on that. The Heat got swept by the Bucks.
Oh man,
start on that because I got a lot.
This is only one of my many very wrong predictions that made me look very stupid. I had the Heat in 7 in this series. They couldn't even come up with one. The Bucks were clearly the better team. The Heat were nothing like last year. I feel like the second the series started, they just were already ready for the offseason. They mentally were not there. Jimmy Butler was nowhere to be found all series. Your two best players weren't the two best players, not even on your team, let alone the whole series. And the Bucks just, yeah, no, Giannis was too much. I don't know. They just weren't there, bro. They just mentally were not there.
So
But you go in depth about this. This is your spot.
let's start here. Let's start here. Gotta give the Bucks front office credit. Um,
Yep.
they got ridiculed a little bit about the money that they spent this offseason and how they spent it, and was it going to be enough? Give the front office credit because they targeted players that they knew were going to fit in their team, in their city, and for what they wanted to do. And the pieces that they picked up: Drew Holiday, Bobby Portis. I'm missing somebody who's coming off the bench and it's killing me, but
Bryn Forbes.
PJ Tucker, Bryn Forbes. The pieces that they added were perfect pieces for what they needed. They needed a more aggressive defensive edge. They needed some tough guys. They needed some guys that had more ball handling ability, so Giannis didn't have to constantly handle the ball. And they needed someone that was going to take pressure off of Giannis in certain situations, both defensively and offensively, yes, to allow him to be able to be more of himself. And those guys did that. And you saw it in the series. Giannis played a lot more free. He was able to roam. The Heat weren't able to build that wall in front of him as much anymore because Drew Holiday was handling the ball, because PJ Tucker and Bobby Portis can hit those threes as well as attack the basket.
Drew Holiday's an X factor.
Bryn Forbes looked like he was young Patty Mills this series. You know what I'm saying? Like, he came from the Spurs. He looked to me like that's who he reminded me. He reminded me of young Patty Mills out there this series, the way he was playing, the clutch threes. It wasn't he was scoring a ton, but when he was scoring and how he was doing it was in the moments. All those pieces mattered. All those pieces had a big effect, and you got to take your hats off to the Bucks for that. Like you said, they were the better team. They played better, and they had probably the 4 best players in the series, like, when it plays out. And, you know, they deserve to win that series. I'll talk more about the Bucks in the prediction round, but now I'm going to get to my Heat. And this is where I'm going to go in. Let's first start with where the Heat just went wrong. Like you said, they were just checked out. Like, that team was not there. They didn't have any will to fight. No one had any will to fight. I'm very upset with Eric Spoelstra for not putting Udonis Haslem in a game. Like at the end of the day, Udonis Haslem is the embodiment of Heat culture. He's in the league still to push the Heat culture into the locker room, to push that we fight. This is what we do. Mm-hmm. When you get embarrassed like that, you put Udonis Haslem in a game in Miami and look for him. I don't give a damn if he gets ejected in a minute, but he's going to do something that's going to impact the team, that's going to wake the team up, that's going to say, y'all might win this, but we about to fight. And that's why I'm just most disappointed with the Heat. They didn't fight. You're going to win every series, but they just look like a beaten team. They by far were the worst team in the playoffs, like in the play-in, in all of that. They looked worse than the Pacers. And I got on the Pacers' ass. They look worse than the Pacers. They look like, why are you here? Like, you should have just stayed home. You didn't want to be here. Why are you here? It was just a poor performance. And the Heat's deficiencies were on display. They need another big man next to Bam, so Bam can play his more natural forward position and stop having to kill himself on defense, having to guard 1 through 5, but then mostly, like, when he has to play a Brook Lopez, it puts a lot of stress on him, and it showed. Him and Jimmy both shot terrible. They were both just non-existent. And like I said with the Knicks, when your best players disappear and become your 3rd and 4th best players, you're not going to win that series. The only person who played well in this series is Goran Dragic. Tyler Hero was nowhere. The players that led the Heat last year all disappeared. They weren't there, none of them. Duncan Robinson was probably the 2nd best player on the team. So we got Goran Dragic and Duncan Robinson leading the way. You're going to lose that series at this stage in Goran's career. But to the bigger picture with the Heat, their deficiencies were on display. We need a bucket getter, a bucket getter. And I'm not talking like a superstar, like it can be a superstar, whatever, but the Heat, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are Swiss Army knives. They are going to be great at everything, but they're not going to be elite at anything except for defense. They're both elite defenders, but offensively, they're not going to be elite at anything. They're going to be good at attacking the rim. They're going to be good at shooting free throws. They're going to be good at distributing the ball, but they're not going to be elite in any of those assets. The Heat need an elite scorer. Think Jamal Crawford. You feel me? Think Monte Ellis. Think Gilbert Arenas. I'm not talking about we need Kobe Bryant, but a person that's like, give me the ball, clear it out. I can score on anyone. I may not be a great defender. I may not get you 1,000 rebounds, but when you need a bucket, I got you for that bucket. They need to find that guy this offseason because the offense dies. When Jimmy or Bam is not doing it, the offense completely dies. And it happened all series because they didn't do it all series. And the Heat need a legitimate big man. And then the last thing I'm about to get into the Heat is the bigger picture. There's been way too much Heat slander, all right? Listen, I just talked all about the deficiencies, and you can say everything you want about this playoff series. The Heat were disgusting in this playoff series. But there's been way too much Heat slander going around after this. We were just in the finals last year, and when you want to talk about us as a franchise, there are only 5 franchises in the NBA that I can even hear from when you want to talk, all right? I'm hearing talk from Knicks fans and Pacers fans and Sixers fans, teams whose teams haven't won a championship since the 80s or earlier. I'm 32 and I wasn't born the last time any of those teams won a championship. And y'all want to talk to me. My team was created in 88 and we got 3 titles, bro. All right? We got 3 titles in the last less than 20 years. So let's just start there, okay? Put some respect on my team's name. We've been to the finals 5 times in the last decade. Like, stop playing with my team. Like, yes, they fell apart. Yes, they were disgusting. But at the end of the day, if you're not the Lakers, you're not the Celtics, you're not the Bulls, you're not the Warriors. Listen, everybody else got 3 rings, and all your rings is from the 50s, 60s, 70s. I don't want to hear about it. Like, you feel me? I don't want to hear about it. Like, I mean, basketball's in black and white the last time your team was balling. Stop it. Like, stop it. Don't come for the Heat, bro. Like I said, unless you're one of those teams that got more rings and have actually won recently, stop it. Don't talk to me, all right? Because the Heat is a top 5 franchise in the NBA, and they're one of the youngest franchises in the NBA. They was made the same year I was born, 88. Stop playing with us.
Yeah, and what really upsets me about your team losing and my team losing, about both of us being in the bubble, about all this last year, about how everyone's saying the bubble was like a fluke. This year doesn't count, basically. Now we're proving that to them because they're like, oh yeah, see, now you're not in the bubble. What happens? You know what I'm saying? I don't think it is like that though.
I got a narrative about that. First of all, especially when it comes to the Heat and Lakers, 71 days rest. All right.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, the Heat, the only teams, there were 4 teams that were in the conference finals, right? The Nuggets are the only team remaining from the 4 teams that made the conference finals in the bubble. The 3 other teams, the Heat, the Celtics, the Lakers, are all done. All right, and then and that means that the Celtics, they got an extra week or 2 of rest. So did the Nuggets, and even still, the Celtics just don't look the same. Injuries hit them harder. Like, the fact that teams like the 76ers and the Nets didn't even make the bubble last year, like make the bubble playoffs. Y'all had months off. Y'all got a break in the middle of the season, and then y'all got months off right after that. For the Heat, for the Lakers, for the Celtics, this is like 2 seasons in 1. This is like 17 straight months of basketball with a 2.5-month break in there. Like, it's a lot of basketball. It's a lot of intensity. It's a lot of stress on the body. You see AD hurt. You see Jaylen Brown hurt. You see Jimmy and Bam both had injuries throughout the season. Goran was out a lot of the season. The toll that the bubble took on the teams is showing from the teams that made it furthest in the bubble. It's a lot of basketball to play, and it's hard to do. And it just showing the effects of that. And the whole thing with the bubble doesn't count. If the bubble was so easy, then every team would have won last year.
Yeah.
Why didn't your team make it if it was easy? If it doesn't count, oh, it was Mickey Mouse, it was easy, then why didn't your team even make the playoffs in the bubble? Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's what kills me about it. Like, oh, it was so easy.
I think it was one of the hardest ones to
Where
win.
was your team at then? Where was your team? If it
Yeah.
was so easy, stop it.
Yeah, and also I was gonna say that they had we had a short off season, and our two teams were the two teams with even the shortest off season because they had to play
Exactly.
6-game series.
Yep.
So
And it was a tough 6-game series. Like
yeah,
that was a hard fought finals. Like, I mean, but we're gonna see how this year plays out. And honestly, to me, this is the weird year. And somebody posted on Twitter, there was like look around the league. Lakers, Celtics eliminated. No LeBron, no Steph. The Heat, who are a team in the finals, all these teams that we're used to seeing are all gone. But last year was weird.
And the Knicks are in the playoffs.
You feel me? Like, no, like this year is we could have like a Bucks Jazz finals. Like
this is the bubble effect. Last year's bubble is causing all this stuff to happen now.
It's coming off onto this year.
Yep.
But that's that for our East recap and reactions. We are going to be right back with you with a West recap and reaction. But we want y'all to like, subscribe, and comment. Let us know what y'all think. Especially, I said a lot about the Heat. Y'all feel any type of way about that? Tune in, let me know. I would love to interact with y'all. And YoungBull, anything you got to say to the people?
Like, comment, subscribe, tune in for the next part of this. I'm about to go off of my squad. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I think I went off on the Heat. Bro is hot at Bron. He hot at him.